The news of Mike Tomlin's departure landed in Pittsburgh like a sudden silence after decades of familiar noise, the end of an era defined not just by wins and losses, but by stability, identity, and an unshakable sense of self. For 19 seasons, Tomlin was the Steelers, a constant presence on the sideline through changing rosters, shifting eras of football, and a league that grew faster, louder, and more volatile with every passing year. His resume speaks for itself. 193 wins, not a single losing season, and a Lombardi trophy that still glows in the memory of a franchise built on championships and toughness. Yet football, like time, never stops moving forward, and Tomlin's decision to step away came just one day after another painful postseason disappointment, a 30-6 dismantling by Houston that extended Pittsburgh's playoff winless streak to 7 games and forced hard questions about direction, identity, and what comes next. As the Steelers begin the daunting process of choosing the next steward of one of the NFL's most tradition-rich organizations, ESPN analyst Dan Orlovsky wasted no time offering his answer, and he didn't hedge or hesitate. If Orlovsky were running the Steelers, he said, the first call would be to Marcus Freeman, and he wouldn't hang up. In Orlovsky's view, Freeman represents far more than a trendy name or a speculative leap from college football to the NFL. He represents continuity of values, a bridge between eras, and a leader whose presence feels eerily aligned with the DNA of Pittsburgh football. Freeman's rise at Notre Dame has been swift, deliberate, and deeply impressive. Since taking over the Fighting Irish ahead of the 2022 season, he has compiled a 43-12 record, stacked up double-digit wins against top 25 opponents, and guided one of the sport's most scrutinized programs to the 2025 College Football Playoff National Championship game. Those numbers alone demand attention, but they only begin to tell the story of why Freeman has become one of the most coveted figures in coaching across both college football and the NFL. At just 39 years old, Freeman carries himself with a presence that belies his age, blending the relatability of a modern leader with the conviction and authority of someone deeply rooted in football's older truths. He recruits at an elite level, develops relationships with players that go beyond slogans, and commands rooms without theatrics, relying instead on authenticity and accountability. Orlovsky, speaking in the aftermath of Tomlin's exit, made sure to pay proper respect to the man who defined Pittsburgh football for nearly 2 decades, before shifting the conversation toward the future. Tomlin, he said, is one of the all-time greats, a coach whose impact extends beyond statistics and banners. But once that acknowledgement was made, Orlovsky's focus sharpened and his message became clear. If the Steelers are serious about restarting without losing their soul, Marcus Freeman should be their target. In Orlovsky's words, Freeman fits the profile of what Pittsburgh has always valued in its head coaches, from Bill Cowher to Tomlin himself. This franchise, he argued, has never been about chasing schematic wizards or trendy play designers. It has been about character, conviction, leadership, and the ability to command respect in a locker room filled with strong personalities. Freeman, Orlovsky believes, embodies all of that. He is the kind of coach players want to play for, and the kind of leader organizations want representing them. Someone who understands that football is ultimately about people before it is about plays. The timing, of course, is complicated. Freeman recently signed a 1-year extension with Notre Dame, a move widely interpreted as a signal that he intended to remain in South Bend and quiet, at least temporarily, the growing speculation about an NFL jump after he had been linked to the New York Giants. That extension, however, is not a lifetime contract, nor is it an unbreakable barrier. In today's coaching landscape, where opportunities shift quickly and leverage is fluid, the Steelers' opening represents a different level of temptation. This is not a rebuilding franchise searching for relevance. This is Pittsburgh, a team with a clear identity, a loyal fan base, and an expectation of contention baked into its culture. For a coach like Freeman, who has already navigated the intense spotlight of Notre Dame, the challenge of translating his leadership to the NFL could feel less like a risk and more like a natural progression. Orlovsky leaned into that idea, emphasizing that Freeman's leadership transcends levels. College football and the NFL may differ in structure and logistics, but the core challenge of leading men, establishing standards, and sustaining belief remains the same. Freeman, Orlovsky argued, is already one of the great leaders in football regardless of level, and Pittsburgh's moment of transition could align perfectly with his trajectory. The Steelers, after all, are facing more than a simple coaching change. They are staring at a reset, a moment to redefine how they compete in a league that has evolved rapidly around them. For years, stability masked stagnation, and while Tomlin's consistency was remarkable, recent playoff failures have forced a reckoning. Bringing in Freeman would not be about erasing the past, but about carrying its core principles forward into a new era. Yet Freeman's offseason has been anything but quiet, adding layers of complexity to any speculation about his future. In recent weeks, he has navigated allegations stemming from an incident at a high school wrestling meet involving his son, an accusation of battery that quickly drew public attention. Notre Dame Athletics responded firmly, releasing a statement asserting that the allegations were totally unfounded, and prosecutors ultimately declined to file charges. While the situation was resolved legally, it added to an already intense stretch for Freeman, who has also been managing roster turnover through the transfer portal and guiding a program that found itself under fire after missing the college football playoff and withdrawing from a bowl game, a decision that thrust Notre Dame into the center of national criticism. The Fighting Irish have also moved on from their century-old rivalry with USC, a seismic shift in college football tradition that further underscores how much change Freeman has overseen in a relatively short period. Through it all, he has remained composed, measured, and focused, qualities that only strengthen the argument that he is built for pressure at the highest level. Orlovsky's endorsement did not come from a place of hot-take urgency, but from a belief that moments like this define franchises. Pittsburgh can choose to chase familiarity, to find a coach that feels safe or predictable, or it can lean into a new chapter while staying true to itself. Freeman, in Orlovsky's estimation, offers that rare blend. He is new without being untested, bold without being reckless, and young without being naive. He understands tradition because he has lived inside one of the few college programs that rival the Steelers in terms of history and expectations. As the Steelers' search unfolds, there will be other names, other pitches, and other visions for the future. But Orlovsky's message was clear and resonant. If Pittsburgh wants a leader who mirrors the best of its past while positioning the franchise for what comes next, the call should be made. Whether Freeman answers and whether he ultimately chooses to leave South Bend for the NFL remains uncertain. What is undeniable is that his name now belongs in the same conversation as the most coveted coaching figures in the sport, and that alone speaks volumes about how far he has come and how high his ceiling may still be.